And we are recording. Hello, Sam Wharvell.
Hello, hey.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. How's lockdown treating you?
Fine. I'm getting better at video games, and that's about it. I'm putting on weight, so can't really complain.
as are many people, I'm sure. What video games are you playing?
Just League still. Like
Oh
I haven't
yeah.
even changed it up. Like it's still the same game. Like I didn't even need lockdown for that. But
Have you become better?
I'd like to hope so. I've put a lot more hours into it, so if I'm not, I'm just bad.
Welcome to Music That Impacted Me. Thank you so much for coming on. So obviously this is the part of the blog where I like to talk to guests about the 3 albums that have impacted their life the most. And I really enjoy doing these, and you're a very interesting guy. So this is gonna be a lot of fun, hopefully, and I hope you enjoy it as well.
I mean, interesting guy. That's quite a compliment. Oh, it could also be an insult. So we'll just see how that goes.
Take it positively. Take it positively. Let's go straight into it then. Sam Wharvell, what is your first pick for music that impacted me?
Okay, so my first one is an album, and if anyone knows me, they're probably expecting this one, and it's "Save Rock and Roll" by Fall Out Boy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
the very, it's my favorite album of all time, just flat out. It's not even a contention, and I am very stereotypical in the music I listen to, very pop punk, whatever that genre is now. Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco. That is very much my type of music. So
That's a really big claim to say that's your favorite album of all time.
oh, I've thought all about this a lot, and um, uh, it's no other albums had really the same impact on me because when I first listened to the album, when it first came out ages ago, this was very much the first time that I properly started to form an opinion on music and had my own opinions. Because before that, it was whatever my mum listened to, very 80s stuff, which is obviously still very impactful on me now. But I still remember watching the first music video, which was for it's for so our song, my songs "Know What You Do in the Dark" and "The Phoenix." We're watching it on my old school desktop computer on my landing of my own mum's house, and with my best mate Ethan at the time. And just from then, that was the first time I was like, "This is a really good album. I really enjoy this." And to this day, I could still word for word sing all the songs on that album
Yeah.
easily. And it's always stuck with me. And usually with me, I really like things intensely for a short amount of time and then sort of move on to the next fad. But with this, it's the Phoenix is still my favorite song, and I will listen to it whenever I need a hype. Um, I use it for dodgeball, I use it for water polo. If I'm going to a match, I'll listen to that song just to get me ready for the game,
Yeah.
and I can't beat it.
I listened to that album because it came out. I'm trying to think now. I'm pretty sure it came out when I was in my first year of sixth form.
Yeah,
I'm trying,
it's either that or sort of year 11,
yeah.
somewhere around then. So what's that? 2009 ish? No, no, no,
2009. No, it's
no.
like 2012, I think.
2009. I graduated. It's 16, so about 2014, I'd say.
Was it 2014? Yeah. Yeah, that
Around.
sounds about right, actually. That sounds about right. But yeah, 2013, 2014 sounds about right. Um, I mean, from what I can remember listening to that album, it's very inspirational, isn't it? It's like you were saying, you refer to the Phoenix as a hype builder, as a booster.
Yeah.
And from what I can remember, obviously, it's not an album I've gone back to listen to recently, but I do remember it's very motivational.
Oh yeah, and the thing is with that album as well, it was for Fall Out Boy. It was their sort of coming back because they had this
Yeah,
big hiatus for however long, and this was their album. They were like, "Oh yeah, guys, we're back," and they came up with this absolute banger. And um, all Fall Out Boy fans seem to love it as well. With the newer stuff, everyone's a bit like, "Oh, it's not as good as their old stuff." Not my opinion, but this album, everyone was like, "This is amazing. We love this album." I think My Songs Know What They're Doing. My Songs Know What You Did in the Dark is still their most listened to song on Spotify, if I'm right. So it's just a universally loved album, and yeah.
And they're a great band. I must admit, and this isn't something that many people know about me, but I used to love Fall Out Boy. I kind of went through a weird phase that obviously, when people are younger, most people kind of start off around rock and pop and stuff. And then if they do branch into hip hop, it will kind of be after. But I started listening to like some old Jay-Z albums and Eminem first when I was much younger, and then from that I branched into like Linkin Park and Fall Out Boy, and like you were saying, that kind of that pop punk genre. And I don't know what it was particularly about Fall Out Boy, but I had one of those phases, that everyone has when they're younger, and I just thought they were absolutely brilliant. I can't remember the name of the album, but they brought out a greatest hits album, and still to this day, when I'm driving or whatever, I still play that album because they do have really good bangers, and it's not even so much like a guilty pleasure or they're not cheesy. They're just genuinely really good songs.
And even recently, some of the new songs they've got out is they've done stuff with like Macklemore, and so two of the newer songs that they've been featured on are really good. And I think I was at a party with you, and you were just playing the songs and the Fall Out Boy songs, and I was like, "Do you know this is Fall Out Boy?" And everyone's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yes, it is."
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I must admit, I don't at parties and social stuff. I don't pull out Fall Out Boy a lot, But sometimes the mood is right, if you know what I mean. The atmosphere is right, and I like to go back and reminisce to when I was having that period, And Patrick, the lead singer, is so talented, such a talented musician.
He did a solo album in the era of when Fall Out Boy had their hiatus, and that he plays every single instrument on that album, and he sings. He's so talented, and it's very different to Fall Out Boy. So a lot of Fall Out Boy fans didn't listen to it, but it's a really good album. I'd suggest listening to it.
I remember he branched out into with the Gym Class Heroes what was the rapper's name? Travis
Scott?
No, it's not Travis Scott. Oh no, it's going to be a tip of the tongue. I can't remember now. But with the Gym Class Heroes, and when he brought out the bang with that, and he wrote a lot for them as well. He's just a very, very talented musician.
He's got a Disney song. Immortals was Big Hero 6, and that's a Disney.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's classed as so I was looking through because I've got a lot of free time on my hands. He was rating all the Disney songs, Disney original songs, and you have stuff like all the Tarzan songs with obviously Phil Collins, and then all the classic Disney songs, and then just have Immortals by Fall Out Boy. And you're just that's really cool.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Chavi McCoy was the rapper. Chavi McCoy was the rapper. It's come to my head. Chavi McCoy. But yeah, and obviously I remember the period that I was kind of I was having my phase, my Fall Out Boy phase. I remember that things like Tumblr and things like that, everyone was just thirsting over Pete. Is it Pete Weens or Pete Wines?
Pete Wentz.
He went. Neither. Yeah. He's the bassist, isn't he? He's the bassist. Yeah. And yeah, I remember there was that kind of phase of just posting first selfies of him all over these sites.
He was the stereotypical emo boy, wasn't he, with the guy liner and the black hair and all the ripped clothes and everything, and everyone's like, oh, hardcore Pete Wentz. And then you had Patrick Stump, who looked like a middle-aged man with his mutton chops.
Yeah, he was never kind of the fashion icon, was he? He was, a lot of obviously a lot of bands, especially in that genre, the leading vocalist is usually the one that obviously they kind of market and branch to be the one that all the younger female fans that will first over. But he just never he never really seemed to care, did he? He never really seemed to want to change his appearance or anything.
Which is great. I love it.
Yeah. It was cool. Yeah. No, it was cool. It was cool. And I think Fall Out Boy is a very interesting band because I think it's a good kind of gateway between for the usual pop listeners to discover new genres like punk and
Yeah,
even so much into kind of light rock and
yeah.
soft rock and stuff. You know, so they're really good like gateway band to go and explore
Because
genres.
they've been around for like so long as well. Their like collectiveness just spreads over so many genres. Like the
Yeah.
newest stuff, they've even got like techno in and like
Oh,
EDM,
really?
some of the stuff, yeah. And like you've got that stuff, and then you've also got like the pop punk. You've got bits of rock. You've got stuff with Elton John. It's like,
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
yeah, on Save Rock and Roll.
Oh, it is on that album.
Yeah, he did the title song of Save Rock and Roll is with Elton John, and it's got a very nice piano piece in it, which is good. The good also from that album, it let me listen to a lot of other music as well, other bands, because on the album there's a singer called Foxes, um, and she's a semi well known British singer, um, and I went to see her live in Sheffield because of that album. And the supporting band at the time was called Prize, which is like this Scottish sort of like, I don't know, techno, not techno, electronica band. They were very like sort of like not well known at the time. I wouldn't have listened to them otherwise, but because I'd listened to the listen to, and then they ended up playing like the closing ceremony of the what's the name? Not the Olympics, the other one, Commonwealth Games in
Oh,
Scotland.
oh,
Yeah,
really?
and I was like, okay, I met these guys in Sheffield, and then listened to them, and they were really good. And I've spoken to the band members a couple of times as well, and they recognise us. And it's just, I'd have never listened to it was it not for that album.
That's a great progression though, and that's the beauty of music is the
Oh,
journey it takes you on. You know, especially when you're discovering for yourself a new genre or a new band or something new within music that you know you really enjoy. Going on that journey, it makes up like half the fun, really, doesn't it? Really.
definitely, yeah.
Okay then, so let's move on to your second pick then. What's your second pick then for music that
It's
impacted me?
totally down the other end of the spectrum. This is the Hamilton soundtrack from the music.
Oh, okay, interesting. Talk to me about that then.
So, growing up, my mum was a big musicals fan, and we did go to a lot of, I say a lot of musicals, we went to the same musicals a lot of times. So I've seen Joseph countless times, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Annie a couple of times, which I despise now. I cannot stand Annie. But so when that album came out and the soundtrack, I actually started listening to it because of the James Corden Carpool Karaoke, and listened to a few songs, and then really started listening to it in depth. And I usually credit that album with relighting my love for musicals back up, because before then it was it was all the same. Like it's all the old classics, like Andrew Lloyd Webber ones, which are good, but the not my style of musical, I guess,
Yeah,
which is a
yeah.
but that album really cemented myself as getting back into listening to musicals and listening to the new musicals, because there's so many good new musicals that people just don't listen to because it's like, oh, it's a musical, it's going to be absolute garbage. But like, especially with like Hamilton and everything, it's got a rap battle. It's got two rap battles in it. And when me and Toby went to see it in London, he was like, "Did you know it had a rap battle?" And I'm like, "Yes, this is why I know you'd like it, because it's just so like, it's just such a good blending of genres,
Yeah,
and it's not your typical musical fans. So it's the newer fans of musicals, like our generation's
yeah.
musicals, I guess.
Yeah, of course. And I was having this discussion in another music that impacted me with Dan Brewer, and we were kind of having a little discussion about how musicals have kind of been forced to adapt into creating new sort of styles for a more modern audience. Because exactly like you were saying, you know, when you think of musicals, you think of that really old style, classic Andrew Lloyd Webber kind of style and music, and especially for people like me, that is quite off-putting. It's quite off-putting. But I mean, I've had Hamilton recommended to me so many times, and I've listened to bits of the album, of the soundtrack, to be fair, and it's interesting. It does seem very interesting. And when it comes on to, because it's obviously coming on to Disney Plus soon, isn't it? I'm quite excited to watch it and finally experience it.
Yeah, because when I first started listening to it, it's obviously the original Broadway cast, which is the one that's coming back to Disney. And when we saw it in London, there's a lot of it was slightly different. It was a very different taking on the show. There's the lead, like, antagonist, I guess. Aaron Burr was played by Jazz Terrera, who's a very good actor. But it was a sort of different. He was more scheming and more calculated, I guess, than the sort of American version of it. And the King George, who's the bad guy of the thing because of the Civil War and everything, it was played a lot more for laughs in the London version, and it's just good how the different styles of audiences work a lot better, because the creator, especially when they were trying to move it over to some people were having this thing where it was like, will Britain sort of react differently to it, because they're obviously portraying one of the monarchs as sort of the bad guy, and everyone was like, yeah, sure, it's funny, this what happened, we lost, okay. And it's good to see the sort of style differentials in the two, and I do want to see the Disney Plus one, because obviously that is the original one and how it was written, and Lin-Manuel Miranda, who is one of my idols, is back in it, so it'll be great to see. I can't wait.
And what a career he's gone on to have post.
Yeah.
He seems to pop up in nearly everything now. In terms, like, obviously I'm not a musical theatre lover, but even I can recognise him when I see him in TV and film and stuff now.
It's like he sort of just exploded, like just before uni, so like 2015 era. Because he did In the Heights, which was his first, like, sort of, and he won a Tony for it. And he didn't really explode until he did Hamilton.
Yeah.
And then you sort of look back and you see him in all this other stuff as well, because he was in, like, How You Met Your Mother, what's the one? Like Arrested Development, I think he was in as well. And then he's obviously just exploded. He did, like, Moana. He's doing the In the Heights movie. He's done all this stuff. And another good thing was that one of the Tony performances with Neil Patrick Harris, the opening, the big, like, song number, was always one of my favorite, like, live performance things, because it was just so amazing, and Neil Patrick Harris was an amazing performer. And obviously I'd watched that, and then I came back to it, and then I was reading through the description, and it was written by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and I'm like, that's probably why I like it so much, just his style, and it's very, like, fast paced, and he's amazing. I love him.
Well, fantastic. That's very good. Your third pick then, Sam Wharvell, for music that impacted me.
So let me just get I'm just getting up on my Spotify for all So this is just a song. It's not an album.
Okay.
And it's called Rise by the Glitch Mob and Mako. So there's a bit of background to this song. So everyone knows I'm quite a big esports fan. League of Legends, I love watching that. And every year there's the big World Championship. And each year they do a song for it. In 2014 or whatever, the Imagine Dragons did the song, and it's one of my favourite songs. And then 2 years ago, this was the world song. And it's because the reason I think it sticks with me so much is, at the time I was probably having one of the worst times of my life. It just wasn't going. There's a lot of things wrong, and this song is so. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like, bringing it back. It's like the Phoenix. It's very go up and get them. This is like, you're the underdog. Go fight. keep going forward, and it's kind of what I needed at the time, and it's still one of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
And especially the music video. If someone like you would watch it, it wouldn't mean a lot to you, but for someone like me and all my friends who've obviously been in the scene for a long time,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's so dedicated to the history of the esports and League of Legends and all the people who do it, and just watching it. Um, if, Even though the scene hasn't been around for so long, it's been around for like what 10 years. There's so much history in it, so much that's gone on, so many massive things that have happened that have impacted people, and to see it all in this video with this amazing song, and it's just amazing to watch.
That's really interesting. So, obviously it's a lot more than just a song. Then it's a piece of culture, isn't it? Therefore, if it's incorporating all obviously, if it's incorporating obviously the period that obviously you were going through, and obviously it helped you through that, and also to incorporate a whole kind of industry, because obviously esports, as we know, is getting it is huge. It's not getting huge, and it's
Massive.
getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Especially league. So yeah, that's really interesting.
It's the whole music videos. It's like a hero's journey kind of thing. It's following this guy. He has to fight all these battles to get to the sort of end of it, but all these battles that he's doing along the way is previous um, things that this actual person has done. So it all follows the previous who won worlds the year before. He's called Ambition. Well, that's his name, and it follows him through his world's journey of the year before, and all these like big moments that happened in the previous year. But it's a kind of a bit like an anime, kind of that kind of style, very sort of like to the point, and then he gets to the end, and he faces off against the final boss, who is Faker, who is the best player League of Legends that I've ever seen. No one disputes this. He's been around since like the scene began, and it's just a sort of like epic moment of them seeing them fight off. And if you didn't know the scene, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, this someone's written a good story here." But this is actually what happened the previous year, and see all these things being retold in this sort of like cinematic experience is just amazing to see. And they do it every year. They did it last year as well, and they'll be doing another one this year. So it's always a highlight of my year getting the new world song.
Yeah.
But this was probably my favorite one.
And what a great commercial venture for that artist as well. Obviously, I mean, obviously, of course, I imagine, obviously, they get paid very well for doing that. But obviously, with the size of the market and the size of the scene of that industry, it must do wonders for their musical careers as well. Like the amount of people that be listening to that.
So yeah, as I said, they keep getting like big name artists in as well. As I said, the first year was Imagine Dragons, and that was like at the height of their sort of like when they were doing Believer and everything.
Yeah.
Radioactive as well, and then they got Zed, who's a very good.
The DJ.
Yeah, the DJ. He did a song called Ignite, which people don't like as much, but I still really like it. And then the sort of like put sort of lesser known artists in between to sort of give them exposure. And the glitch mob is not as well known now, but it used to be quite a big thing. Last year they did a lot. They did like 3 songs. They did they did Phoenix, which is like the official world song, and then they started branching into K-pop. So they did one called KDA, Pop Stars, and another one which is more like it's I don't know how to describe it. It's a good song. It's called Giants, and it's kind of K-poppy, but it's also got new age rap in it. It's got like Kiki Palmer's in it. She sings in it.
Oh yeah, okay.
And these were all released at around the same time last year, and they're all very different songs, but they're all still amazing. And
yeah,
just that a games company can produce such good music year in year out is just amazing.
So are they an American collective then? This band,
Yes,
the Glitch.
the Glitch Mob. I don't actually know a huge amount about the Glitch Mob. I'll just get them up now.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, that in itself is interesting though, because obviously, like you were saying, obviously the industry is so big. For them to therefore bring in those artists that aren't so well known,
Yeah.
you know, like that's amazing for them. What a great commercial opportunity.
Yeah, and the songs are always like listened to in such like so much. Like I've got a playlist just dedicated to all these songs that I just listen to on repeat because they're
Whilst you're
just
playing League.
yeah, exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
and they're just such like inspirational, I guess, just to keep going. And the first one was sort of like, okay, is this like a one-time thing? This Imagine Dragons, it's called Warriors, by the way, if anyone wants to listen to it. Um, is this just sort of like a one-time thing? They've done an amazing song, and they're just going to leave it. But then they had a bit of an off year the year after, but after that, all the other songs have been amazing.
Yeah.
So it's just, yeah.
And it's really great to hear that obviously that helped you through your tough time, that you were able to make that kind of emotional connection
Yeah,
to the song. That's it's really nice to hear, and it's really nice to hear that obviously that helped you through it as well.
yeah, it was, yeah. I wasn't having the best time. Things were just going wrong, and this song was just. Usually, if I'd heard it at that time, and it probably put me off because it reminded me of the worst time. But just because it was such a good song, and I just enjoyed listening to it so much, it was just sort of I'm more associated with coming up the other side rather than being at the bottom, which
Yeah.
is yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. That's really great to hear. Well, that is such a great mix, and I've not had someone choose a specific song before. You know, but that's good though. It's interesting. It makes it more interesting. To be fair, it makes
I,
it
I
much
was
more.
I was trying to think of sort of another album to pick, but the only one that I could probably think of was like Black Holes and Revelations of Muse.
Oh yeah,
Uh, that's just one of my that's probably my favorite Muse album. But it, it that's just what it is though. It's just my favorite Muse album. It doesn't really have that sort of
that connection.
yeah to me.
Yeah.
And Muse is probably my second favorite band, but it just doesn't. There's no history behind it. It's not good to talk about. It's not.
Yeah, no, of course. Obviously, as you know, whilst I was at university over the summers, I worked in kitchens and stuff here in Leicester,
Yeah,
and obviously they'd always have their music on. And there's this one particular chef, and I'll never forget him. He was such an interesting character, and he was saying to me, he said, "It doesn't matter which kitchen you work in through the country. I guarantee at some point on the playlist, the chef will have a Muse song, a Fall Out Boy song, and like probably like a Linkin Park song, like somewhere on the playlist. It's like he was saying, this is just chef music. This.
I found that hilarious because I worked in a kitchen for quite a while, and they had all those three songs on. That's yeah. I did.
It's a universe. It must be just a universal kind of taste of music, you know, working in the kitchens. But anyway, thank you so much for doing this, Sam. I hope you had a good time.
It's fun. It's fun to talk about it.
And
Definitely.
yeah, thank you so much for coming on the blog. And definitely, obviously, I want to try and get you on again. Obviously, for something else that obviously I won't talk about
Yeah.
right now. But that's exciting. So anyway, take care of yourself, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.